validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
All right, how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. We got us a pretty short show today, but we're going to be giving you guys some information that's going to directly impact your money. So we wanted to talk about these things today. Um, we go live 7 nights a week, and we do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time, and that's why we ask you guys to like, subscribe, mash the reaction buttons while you're here. Hit the notification button so that you get here on time in case we have some updates at the top of the hour. Um, we also recommend. How you doing, Sonia? Good to see you, Sonia. We also recommend that you double check the membership so that you guys can see what's going on in the membership because we release information every day of the week to give you guys all of the tools and resources that you need to be successful going forward in the future. And taking everything that I give you and doing your research on top of that to reinforce your knowledge before you take action. We have different topics every night of the week. Yesterday, Sunday, was questions and comments from the fans. You guys have questions, I have answers about what you guys got going on. Then we have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, like business and politics stuff, where on Monday we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Today being Monday, we're actually going to be talking about the increase in tariffs that's going to be increasing our overall spending capabilities because the tariffs just got increased on Friday, the 24th. So we're going to be talking about that today. Then Tuesday, we talk about different ways to make money, save money, earn money, invest money, budget money, different ways to look at money. And we're covering all areas of money when we're on that topic. Then Wednesday, we give you guys information about different countries around the world that you could potentially invest in and also live in, probably more affordable than the country that you're currently in. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, personal development, uh, self improvement, relationship topics, socialization, negotiations, building your brand, promotions, raises, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, termination, and then building your 20 and 30-year plan. Preparing for the future today makes tomorrow easier than yesterday. I should make that a slogan. So I'm going to say it again so we can clip that. Preparing for your future today makes tomorrow easier than yesterday. Okay. So that's what we're going to be doing. Um, Now, we don't have a lot of updates. I know, real quick before we get started, that Donald Trump has been actively talking about taking a third term, making the insinuation that he's already technically won 3 times because he alleges that he had beat Joe Biden, even though he claims that the polls were rigged. Now, we have been have I've covered this already on the show twice, but I seem to have fallen into a couple of debates on social media where people believe that there is a possibility for him to have a third term if they like put him into a specific position in the hierarchy of presidential authority, and then all of the other people voluntarily succeed their positions, which automatically puts Donald Trump into the White House. Well, the rule of thumb is that after we covered this on the show extensively, is that any president can only be president either um, once. Well, actually, it's 10 years in a lifetime, or it would be 2 terms in a lifetime. So it's an either or situation. Either 2 terms or 10 years. So normally, if a president is elected twice in a lifetime, they typically don't try it a second time, or a third time, actually. So they do their 8 years and they're done. If for some reason you inherit presidency and you have less than 2 full years, where you have like you get inaugurated around the 21st. If you started your presidency sometime between the 30th of July and the 1st of February and you did your remaining 2 years, that would not count as one term. Then, if you did 2 more consecutive terms after that, a total of 10 years would be all you'd have as president, right? Now, that's how it's supposed to go. Now, some people are like, oh, yeah, he could be in there as Secretary of State. That's not true. They say, well, you can be put in there like he could be vice and then have the president step down. That's not true. He can be in another political position that is not in succession for presidency. And that is one of the other amendments of the Constitution that kind of compromises his ability to be successful because in order for him to be elected, he would have to put himself in a position where he would first not uh, uh, be in a political position that qualifies for presidency if he doesn't qualify for presidency. That's the verbiage basically. So how it would work is that anybody can be put into the succession ladder if they're not exempt or excluded from presidency. If you've done 2 terms in a lifetime, or if you've been president for 10 years in a lifetime, you are excluded from the presidential position. So you cannot win a third one and you cannot inherit a third one if you've already won 2 times already and done 2 full terms. Now, had he been impeached in his first term, where he did not finish 2 full years in his first term, it is likely that he probably could have done a third term. But because he finished his first full term, he's finishing his second full term. The likelihood of a third full term highly slim. They've been changing the zones for voting. It is possible for them to modify the 22nd Amendment before elections in 2028. And if they and this is something that can happen between now and say July of 2028, right? Because we're in 2026. So all of 2027, he can work on amending the 22nd Amendment so that he can run a third term. That's all it takes, right? But the way the Constitution is written right now, it's just not a thing. It's not a plausible thing. Now, he can technically campaign, he can technically get voted in by the people, he can technically have that qualification for inauguration, but under the Constitution, he legally should not do it, right? Until they amend the 22nd Amendment. So that's what we were discussing before, and I thought that that was very interesting. Some people want him in. A lot of Americans who probably voted him in the second time and probably even the first time are like, no, never again. So I don't even know if he ran a third time, if he would even win naturally. Strong possibility that he would run but not win. Now, the funny thing about it is that if he does run, I just want to cover this real quick before we get on to today's topic. It is not so much what if he gets into the White House a third term. It is the fact that he gets paid to run because his political position, his campaign, remember he borrowed against himself for what 500% interest on his first campaign in 2017. And his campaign trail has to reimburse himself. And remember, he ran a second time. So if he still owes himself money, then he still owes himself money. And that's going to be one of the wildest parts is that if he still owes himself money, then he would have to pay himself back. Then, if you have yet another situation where he's running for a third time, he's still paying himself back. So even if he ran and lost, like a normal loss, he's making a shit ton of money off of this shit. The publicity for doing this, paying himself multiple times for doing this, that's how you get it done. It's crazy, right? Now, let's go ahead and get started with today's show. Before we get started, we are reinforcing because I know that I see a couple of guys diving in with a little bit of spamming. So I want you guys to understand that while this is a interactive podcast, I expect you guys to be respectful and stay on topic. And for any trolls that decide to come in, if I see any information that looks like you would remotely be trying to troll, I'm probably going to just outright ban you, like I've already done 3 people so far. So just note that. I asked you guys to stay on topic. I asked you guys to discuss the topic at hand. If you disagree with certain information, you can point out what you disagree with about the information. No attack in the messenger. We want to keep it clean, keep it respectful. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this real quick because let's bring out a hypothetical. What if I told you guys that there was yet another tax on millions of Americans, but again, this tax wouldn't show up on your paycheck? Thank God, it's not going to be on your W-2, and you'd never see it itemized on a single receipt. It's like a ghost tax that's buried so deep inside the price of everything that you buy that you'd never even know that it was there. And yet, it would quietly siphon money from your bank account every single day. Now, this isn't some far-fetched theory. It is the economic reality of a specific policy. Broad-based tariffs. So let's explore a scenario based on past proposals and economic predictions. So what if a failure, or not a failure, but what if a future administration were to implement a sweeping new set of tariffs on goods imported into the United States? Well, this isn't just a political debate, it's a direct threat to your wallet. How much would a policy like this really cost you? Well, we're pulling back yet another curtain on this hidden tax. We'll follow the money from the shipping docks to the store shelves to show you step by step how this policy works and who ultimately pays the price. And the answer is especially painful for those who can least afford it. Now, this is going to be a story of how tariffs become a hidden and deeply regressive tax on the poor. And when we think about the poor, it's not just the people that make under $50,000 a year. It is the people that are fundamentally living from paycheck to paycheck, barely having enough money to get by without having extra money lying around for an emergency. So poor people can be $300,000 a year income. If you are spending 299,000 of it on your lifestyle, you're still poor. If you just want to cover that basis. Okay. Now, to get a handle on this impact, let's first set up the hypothetical scenarios, which is going to be based on proposals that have been publicly discussed. So we're going to imagine a shift in the United States trade policies that has occurred, enacting a massive broad-based import tax. Now, under this plan, new duties of 10% or more are placed on goods coming from most of our trading partners, right? So we're talking about a huge range of products from dozens of countries. This would include major players like the European Union and China. Now, while there might be some exemptions for things like crude oil, the vast majority of consumer goods lining the shelves of American stores would be affected. Now, the stated reason for a policy like this is often wrapped in patriotism, right? So proponents argue that these tariffs are meant to achieve noble goals, punish countries with unfair trade practices, protect American industries, and bring manufacturing jobs back home. Now, the story is going to be one of economic warfare, where tariffs are a weapon to level the playing field and put America first. Remember that old saying, make America great again, right? It's a simple, powerful message. Make foreign goods more expensive and people will buy American, strengthening our nation. But is that how it actually works? Does this economic weapon hit its intended targets the way we would assume it would be on paper? Does it end up inflicting friendly fire on the very people that it claims to protect? Because that's something that not too many people put a little bit of emphasis on. The first thing to understand is what a tariff really is, because a tariff is simply a tax. It's a tax paid to the United States government by the company that imports a product. So if a company like Walmart or Target wants to bring a shipment of TVs from Vietnam or t-shirts from Bangladesh, special shout out to Bangladesh and Belarus, they first have to pay the United States government a percentage of the goods value right there at the port. That's the first thing that they would have to do. Okay. Now, public rhetoric often frames this as making China pay or making Mexico pay, but this is probably the biggest misunderstanding of trade policies. And while we're on this, I was just thinking we had a spoof that was going around social media claiming that Donald Trump was going to be issuing a stimulus check uh, to certain individuals that would qualify for it under the U.S. government. And the irony is that all stimulus checks that were offered by the White House, all stimulus checks that were offered by Donald Trump, were fulfilled in their entirety in 2025. So in 2026, any fake news going around where people are claiming that a new duty tax is out there that's going to be providing a stimulus check to the American people or anything to that effect, that is going to be fake news. There is no financial lifeline being provided by the United States government right now within the last 6 months, and not one projected to occur within the next 6 months as it stands to subsidize the American people in any way. So I just wanted to cover that while we're talking about these duty taxes. Now, the government of China does not write a check to the United States Treasury, and the government of Mexico does not wire funds to the IRS when tariffs are paid. I remember that Donald Trump renamed um, the port authorities to something else where they were creating a new division solely to collect taxes at the port. But see, you got to understand the taxes is going to be paid by the American companies, the importer, the person that's bringing the stuff in, not the exporter, the person shipping stuff out. That's the person that's going to be bringing the goods into America. So if, say, let's just say something like Honda or Toyota creates 2,000 cars in Asia. And in order for them to be sold in America, the Honda dealership or Toyota dealership in America would have to request an import of 2,000 cars. Those cars get shipped in. Honda and Toyota would pay for those cars coming in, not the manufacturer who shipped the cars out. That would be an export duty tax, not an import duty tax, right? So the American companies that's getting products from overseas is going to pay the premium for getting them into the country from overseas. From the very first moment it's levied, the tariff is a cost shouldered by a domestic company. That isn't a debate. It is just procedural reality of how import duties are collected. The real question, the one that tells us who is truly burdened, is what happens next. What does the American company do after it's been hit with this new tax? Well, does it just absorb the cost and accept lower profits? Of course not. What company does that? Does it demand its foreign supplier lower the price to offset the taxes? Some can try to talk it down a little bit, but not necessarily going to have the manufacturer taking that much of a pay cut. Now, do you think it would do what pretty much every business in America does when it's facing a new cost, which is pass it on, kick that football down the field a little bit? Of course. And this is going to be where the policy's stated goal and its real world effect starts to split apart dramatically. The tariff, born at the border as a tax on importer goods, begins a journey that ends in the wallets of American consumers. Pass it on. That's right. Special shout out to Brian. It becomes a stealth tax, and its destructive power is revealed when you see who it hits the hardest. Because some people can afford to pay the extra premium, some not so much. So let's trace the journey of the hit of this hidden tax real quick. So imagine a pair of sneakers. Fuck, Jordans. Since everybody loves Jordans, I don't know why. It's freaking overpriced Nikes, but let's just go with some Jordans, right? Big American shoe brand. Design them in the United States, uh, but has them made overseas to keep the cost down. Think about that. Now, let's say the factory sells the sneakers in the United States. It wouldn't be Jordans, but if we sold it for $20 for like uh, uh, a regular pair of sneakers, I wanted to say Jordans, but let's say if we were selling Jordans for a pair of $20 a pair, before the tariff would hit, the company paid $20 plus shipping, right? And the sneaker entered the country. But now there's a new 10% tariff. And actually, as of Friday, it's like 12.5%. So it is 2.5% higher, but there's a tariff on it, right? But if we just average it out to say a 10% tariff, that's going to add another $2 to the sneaker. The moment the container of sneakers arrives at the port of Los Angeles. So the United States government steps in and says, hey, that'll be an extra $2 a shoe because that's 10% taxes on the $20 imported shoe. Now, the American Shoe Company has a cost for that same pair of sneakers that just jumped from $20 to $22. The company now has a choice. It could eat that $2 cost, but multiply that by millions of pairs of shoes, and you're talking about a massive blow on their bottom line. So for a public company answering to shareholders, that's rarely an option. Their second option is going back to the factory and saying, hey, you need to lower your price to $18 so that after that $2 tariff, the shoe still costs me 20 bucks. This scenario is where foreign countries supposedly pays if foreign countries negotiated down the price. But what's the factory's incentive in that? They sell to companies all over the world. So if American market gets less profitable because the United States policies exist, they might just focus on selling to Europe or Australia instead of selling to America. Now, if the American brand is huge and a lot of people are buying it, the factory might budge a little bit, maybe dropping their price to $19. But decades of economic research tells us that that's not what usually happens. Usually, $20 is dirt cheap because the fucking shoe is $350 in the United States. So, an overwhelming body of evidence from institutes like the National Bureau of Economic Research and the Federal Reserve shows that in recent tariff episodes, the pass through cost to the US importers has been incredibly high. So, one study found a pass through rate of 94%, meaning that foreign exporters didn't really lower their price. The Brookings Institute found a similar rate of about 90%. In other words, for every dollar of new tariff, about 90 cents gets paid directly by the American importer. So the American Shoe Company, now stuck with a sneaker that cost them $22 instead of $20, what's their third and most logical move? They pass that cost down the line. Like my boy said, pass it on, right? They sell the sneaker to the retailer, a department store, Walmart, Reebok, Foot Locker, whatever, for a higher wholesale price. Instead of what they would have done for $30, they maybe now sell them for like $32. But with branding, what we have in America, that $32 is actually $352 because broke folks will pay for a brand to look wealthy instead of buying practicality and actually being wealthy, right? Exactly. That's right, Brian. They increased the price. So now the retailer is going to be in the same boat because their cost for the shoe just went up. They're not going to absorb the cost either, right? It's highly unlikely. So they in turn are going to raise the final price that you're going to see on a shelf. And that pair of sneakers might be as low as $50 now, suddenly $54, $55 now. And that's if the shoe originally started at $20. But you've got some manufacturers where that shoe might have started at $20 a shoe. To get it here, it might have been $5 to a shoe to ship it across the country. And then you still had the 10% duty tax. And that $5 a shoe might actually go up to $10 a shoe of duty tax because of fuel prices to ship it across the country. And then you're looking, because the further inland it is away from the dock, the more it costs to transport it from the boat to the store. And then you're looking at the taxes on the import coming in. So you're looking at the 2% taxes. So you might have been right at $50 or $55 a shoe by the time you got to the store. and then the store is going to put another $50 on the shoe, and it would have been like $100 for a shoe that the store paid $55 for, because typically they try to make 200% return on their investment. Likely, you might see for something like Jordans, Air Jordans, or whatever, and ones and whatnot, the manufacturer might be putting it out for 30, 40, $50 a shoe. The person that's providing it to the retailer might be providing it to the retailer for 50 to $100 a shoe, and then the retailer is reselling it to the general population for $350 a shoe. But you will see those same shoes, when they're not selling, go on a discount by like 25, 30% off, where they start knocking it down to like $225 a shoe because the shoe's been on the shelf for so long, right? You think they're taking a loss. No, they overpriced the damn shoe to begin with. They're bringing it down to a reasonable price now, which is why the first come, overpaid serve is how that's going to work. Because you could be the first person to get the shoe at 425, but 6 months to a year later, when the next generation comes out, that exact same shoe, brand new, is now 210 or 185, because it wasn't worth 400 something dollars when people were buying it, but you had a line of people waiting on the shoe store to open so that they could be the first person to have that new brand of the shoe, so that they could floss in front of their friends, so that they could flex in front of their friends, and oh yeah, I could afford to have shoes on day one release. Some are paying extra money for pre-orders so that they can be on the list of new releases, where the shoe ultimately only worth $55. They're now pre-ordering it for $475 so that it can get shipped, and they get called as soon as the shoe gets to the store, so that the first 6 months that the shoe was on the shelf, nobody has access to it because it's already sold out, which increases the value of the shoe because the demand outweighs the supply, which means that the retailer can charge more money for the shoe, the shipper, the importer can charge more money for the shoe, and ultimately, a lot of times the manufacturer can charge more money for the shoe. Because do you think that the manufacturer is not watching the United States market? If the shoe, if anybody who made Donald Trump's shoe for $450 and saw that Confederate flag gold shoe being sold for $9,000 on eBay, next release, if it would have been a next release, the next release would have been $1,000 a shoe. And people would have been like, "Oh, that's outrageous. Who's going to pay $1,000 a shoe?" Well, there was 1,000 shoes released the year before, and people were paying $9,000 a shoe for it, and the shoes sold out. That's $90,000 for 1,000 shoes. So it makes sense that it could likely do the same thing the year after, because there's more than 1,000 people that are supporters that would have bought that shoe. Not all of them would have paid $9,000 for it, but enough of them would have paid like $500 or $600 for it, that shoe could have priced out each time. This is going to be where the hidden part of the tax is so insidious, because when you check out, your receipt doesn't say sneakers $50, tariff $5, transport fees. You see that when you buy your car. You see that when you buy your car. If you buy a brand new car from a dealership, you'll see the MSRP price, which is the base recommended. It's the manufacturer recommended sales price. That's what MSRP means. This is what the manufacturer said it should be sold as. Most dealerships are going to add $3,000 to that at the very least, just because, so that they can turn a profit. Now, after that, you're going to have all of the amenities that are going to be added to the price. What do you think? Cup holders, the little net in the trunk, floor mats, mud flaps, grill guard covers, all kinds of weird shit. Dealership exclusive lug nuts. That's like $150 for lug nuts, when you can get a full set of lug nuts from AutoZone for $20. All kinds of overpriced stuff, and then they'll slap their dealership logo on it as well, which is free advertisement for them. And then they'll stick a dealership exclusive license plate cover on top of the license plate as well, so that they can get free advertisement for that as well, right? All of that. And now you're looking at the final price, but in that list of stuff, you'll see freight costs, $2,000, $5,000, however much it costs for them to drive it from where it got off the boat to the dealership that's selling it to you. You'll see that when you buy a car. But when you buy everything else, there isn't tariff, freight costs, shipping costs. That stuff is not itemized in your receipt. The price is just higher. It looks and feels exactly like regular inflation. You might blame the brand, you might blame the store, you might blame the government, or just feel like everything is getting more expensive naturally. But what really happened is that a government tax levied at the border has been laundered through the supply chain and embedded into the final price. And it works almost exactly like a national sales tax, but it's invisible to the person who pays it. He says blame Canada. But see, that's the thing. You can't blame Canada. Canada isn't the one who put the tariff in place. You can blame Canada for higher electricity in northern states. You can blame Canada for some of the higher cost of oil that's being procured from Canada for the northern states. You can blame Canada for the lack of sales in alcohol because we lost what 8 billion or $800 billion worth of alcohol from Canadians when they said they're no longer buying American products anymore. You can blame Canada for that. But this duty tax, that's Donald Trump. He effectively, at the beginning of this year, before the battle with Iran, was hitting folks with 150 and 200% taxes on imports. That's what was happening when everything was skyrocketing in 2025. Supreme Court ruled in February that that was not ethical, made him stop. He was forced to cap it at 10% for, I think it was 120 days or 150 days, something like that. And the due date was July. Because he was no longer able to penalize countries who didn't cooperate with him by taxing them extra outrageously high fees to bring their products into the country, that's when he started bombing and exploding and destroying Iran because no longer could he take money out of the pockets of Iranian sales with tariffs. Now he just has to, do it the normal way. And that means that he has to use brute force to get what he wants. So you can't really blame Canada. Now, the original, I believe it was section 122, I think it was, or 212, whichever one it was, that was supposed to be an emergency taxes levy thing that he wasn't using properly. Well, he found recently a different one that was a tax code 301 that allows him to add more taxation. I don't know what justification it is, but it's no longer misappropriated under the new tax code. So now he can hit them with the 12.5 instead of 10.0. And I mean, shit, it's not 200%, but it's still higher than what it was uh, earlier this year. It's not nearly as high as it was last year because we were looking at like 14 and 15%, but it's still higher starting Friday, last week Friday, than what it was over the last 3 months. So just when you thought that things were going to level off, it's about to go up even more because we're already dealing with increased costs of goods and services because of oil. And now we're looking at an increased cost of goods and services because of tariffs. And this process happens with thousands of products. Your new microwave, your child's toy, bed sheets, your frying pan, your cell phone case, they all creep upward in price. Even goods, quote unquote, made in America aren't safe because if an American furniture company uses imported wood, textiles, screws, their cost goes up because you got to understand one of the things that not a lot of Americans recognize or believe is that the slogan made in America does not mean that it was made in America. It means that it was assembled in America. All of the intricate components could have been shipped in from overseas. Think about all the fuel efficient Mustangs that are American made, American proud. That EcoBoost is from fucking China, bro. Dodge too. Dodge got certain cars that's got energy efficiency that's imported from Asia. Now, the American muscle, that's the gas guzzler beyond all gas guzzlers, 8 miles to the gallon. That might be American built, American manufactured, American made, American assembled to the core. Hellcat. Who the fuck's paying $200,000 for a car that's getting 8 miles to the gallon right now? Where the insurance is going to be $1,000 a month for that bitch. I'm not. I'll get me a Nissan Versa, not American car. Volkswagen Jetta, not an American car. Toyota Camry, Celica, not an American car. Honda Civic, not an American car. The CRV, not American car. Man, all of the economy vehicles are not American cars. He said that car will be stolen in a few months. I don't think so. I don't think so. And you know why I don't think so, Steven? And you're gonna love this because one, it'll be impounded by the police, and two, probably the little jackass that got it from his parents' tuition fund, is probably gonna crash it before they get a chance to have the police seize it. If they're responsible with their vehicle to have it in their possession for a few months, then it might be taken from them by someone else who couldn't afford to get it. But odds are, with the way these kids behave right now, with these Hellcats that are stock cars, manufactured, created to be high performance road vehicles, they are likely to be seized by the police, impounded for illegal traffic violations, or the kids are going to lose control and crash the vehicle long before the homie down the street steals it. Either Hellcats or the hit list kill switch won't help none. You would have to manually install multiple kill switches in your car that are completely unorthodox. Standard kill switch locations is in the glove box, under the dashboard, and under either the driver's seat or the passenger seat. So you would have to have completely unorthodox kill switches, like kill switches in the trunk, kill switches underneath the spare tire, where the switch to kill the thing is in the back of the car, but there's a wire coming from the starter, not the battery terminal, coming from the starter, driving somewhere else where you never knew it was there. You can't see it there. That scenario, that would be the only way that the car wouldn't get stolen. Otherwise, you would have to really just pay for a GPS service to monitor where the car goes when it got stolen, get in your Ford Focus and chase down your Hellcat. That's like the only way you're gonna get that bitch back. Either they'll tow that car with all its kill switches. They're gonna tow the car. Yeah, the police will tow it. The repo company will tow it when your mama don't pay the bill no more. The kids that are out there just jumping in the car riding off with it more often than not don't come with their own tow truck. But any organized crime spring that's going to go out there and go and tackle that, they will just flatbed truck with some dollies and snatch your shit right out the yard. And you can have everything on it and they'll still snatch your car, bring it down the street, disconnect the battery, your car is gone. And what they usually do is strip your car down for parts, and then nobody's going to be able to do anything about it. And what I've seen is that some people will steal the car, strip the car down, and then the police find the car. The car gets put in the salvage yard because the original owner can't do anything about it. You buy the salvage title from the salvage yard, reassemble the car, which this is a lot of work, but now you can resell that stolen car to another individual and then steal it again. And the money that you're making off of a salvage title, because for some reason some salvage titles can get insured, um the people buy it because they want the car, and the manpower that it took to strip it down to make it not worth rebuilding, that's what they do to make extra money on the side. He said put an I tag on it. Yeah, anything that you can put on it that has a 1 year or 5 year battery life on it, and you can GPS track it, that would be a fantastic thing to do. If you put any kind of GPS system that runs off of the battery, you would have to put it in there with a backup battery on it, so that if the main battery gets disconnected, that it still has a backup battery on it. But if they're stripping the car down, the car is only going to be gone for a couple of hours, and they're going to find all of the ways to disconnect all the power from the car, and all of a sudden, you know. But most people don't put batteries in the trunk. So if you don't have a stereo system, because if you got a stereo system, oh yeah, they're going to look in the trunk. But if you have a stock car and you have a battery set underneath the spare tire, underneath the floorboard of the car, not too many people look there first. So as long as you don't have random wires coming from places that wires don't belong, they're not going to notice it. And you could get away with having a secondary battery source that would allow for your GPS signal to continue working until they found that battery source. But that means that you might have a day or two, 3 days to find your vehicle, but you would be finding it yourself. You would not be trying to have the police trying to find it, because by the time they decide to start looking at it, the car would be gone, long gone. But if you notice that your car is gone and you got a second car that you can use, whether it's your car, your homeboy's car, your girlfriend's car, and you just go chasing that signal as soon as you find out that your car is gone, you should find it if you have some kind of external GPS tracker on it. He said the Hellcat would leave the country. Well, the Hellcat would own, not all the time, not all the time. So once it gets here to America, the people who steal it are in America, and the people who strip it down are in America, and the people who resell it are in America. Often they just they strip the car down and they relocate the parts, and then the car gets shipped to a salvage yard, and then the salvage yard might ship it to another salvage yard like LKQ is all across the United States, and then they might buy the frame of a car from the salvage yard, reassemble it, and then put it back on the road. Or like I've seen some people who get pulled over and their car has a bunch of stolen parts on it because the frame doesn't belong to the pieces that were put on the car, but um the car got reassembled and then resold as one kit. And the wild part about that is that even though you didn't know that the car was stolen, he said in some ship containers, nah, they don't go through all that trouble to say you're thinking about gone in 60 seconds. What they would do is they would steal it, like say take it in New York and ship the parts to California, kind of thing. Grab a Hellcat from California and then reassemble the Hellcat in California, but it's a different frame. So what'll happen is they might sell the car in Nevada. Somebody buy it, and now they got a Hellcat that's cheaper than the one from the dealership, works just like the one from the dealership, but it's a stolen car. Now, the wild part about that is that if you're in possession of a stolen vehicle, even if you bought it fair and square from somebody else, it's a stolen vehicle. Best case scenario, they impound your car and leave you with nothing. Worst case scenario, they put you in jail for grand theft because you're in possession of a stolen car that you didn't know was stolen, which is why they say check the Carfax, run the VIN numbers. But back onto that main topic, though, what's more devastating than this is that the tariffs is going to give domestic companies permission to slip a raise in their own prices. So if you're an American sneaker company and you see competitor pricing jump from $50 to $55, what do you think you're going to do? Well, you might raise yours from 48 to 52. You still undersell the competitor, but you can easily raise your price by $5, $4 or $5, because you know that they're raising their prices because of the import duty cost. You can pad your profit margin while still looking like the cheaper option. The tariff on foreign goods reduces the competitive pressure that kept your prices in check. So it's a crucial, often overlooked effect. Tariffs raise the price of imported goods and the domestic goods that compete with it. The consumer loss on all fronts is something that is unavoidable. Now, this mechanism, it's a slow, steady, deliberately murky transfer of wealth from consumers to the government. And while it affects everyone, the burden isn't shared equally. For some, it's a minor annoyance. For others, it's a financial catastrophe. But why do these hidden taxes hit lower income houses the hardest? Well, the answer is going to be simple: brutal economic reality. The poor and the wealthy don't spend their money in the exact same way. Economists call policies that disproportionately hit the poor regressive. It's a broad tariff that is a textbook example of regression. He says, who pays the tariffs? Everybody who buys stuff pays the tariff. That's who pays the tariff, because the person that wants the product shipped in has to pay at the port for it to be shipped in. They're going to sell it to the retail store at an inflated cost to turn a profit. So while I gave you an example of a $20 shoe now costing the importer $22, they may sell it to the manufacturer for like $25 to turn a profit, since they paid $20 from and they might do more than that. They might have paid $20 from the manufacturer, paid $2 at the port, and they might want to make back $22 profit. So they may sell it at $44 to the retail store. And if they're selling it at $44 to the retail store, then the retail store might sell it at $88 to the consumer. So a shoe that costs $20 in China might cost $88 in America, because everybody's trying to make a profit while offsetting the cost to the consumer. Likewise, if you think about getting it from the port to inland, further inland away from the port, the importer might have paid $20 with the manufacturer, $2 uh, uh, at the port, and then $10 to get it to the retail store. That's going to make them pay $32. They might charge the retailer $65 for that $20 shoe. The retailer will take that $65 and then sell it to you for $130. So that $20 shoe in China is $130 at Reebok and Foot Locker. That's how the tariffs offset onto the consumer. The Boots theory of uh, socioeconomics, unfairness in action. There's a concept from Terry Pratchett's novel called the Sam Vines Boots theory of socioeconomics unfairness. It goes a little bit like this: a rich man can afford to spend $50 on great boots that last 10 years. A poor man can only afford $10 boots that fall apart in a year. Over a decade, the rich man spends $50 while the poor man spends $100. Isn't that weird? Now, it's paradoxically more expensive to be poor. And this is actually the difference between quality over branding. Because if you buy a pair of Jordans, and I ain't got no beef with Jordans, but when I did my research and realized that Jordan shoes is a shoe deal that Michael Jordan did with Nike. So Jordan shoes quality is the same quality as regular Nike shoes, but regular Nike shoes are priced at 10% of Jordan shoes. So the difference goes to Michael Jordan. That's not, that's not extra quality. That's extra branding. Now, a pair of Jordan sneakers unscuffed might last you a year or two for $350, but you might have to pay for another pair of shoes every other year, which means that over the course of 10 years, you might be paying $3,500 to $6,500 in shoes. But a pair of Oxfords might cost you $350 to $500 for a pair of shoes that'll last you the full 10 years, which ultimately would have that one pair of Oxfords, which has a higher quality, higher status symbol, and and actually I found that you can get them custom made. And they would still be cheaper than Jordans and last a hell of a lot longer and ultimately be way more comfortable for the average person. But the quality is unmatched by the branding, right? So you're in a position where spending more money on quality, like Steven bought him a pair of shoes. I think Stacy Adams or I can't remember the name of the shoes that Steven bought. Steven, you can tell me what shoes you bought. He had bought him a nice pair of shoes, and he paid like $300 for the shoes. And those shoes are gonna last him until he gets out of college. Now he could have went to a sneaker store and got him a regular pair of sneakers, but them shoes probably would have lasted him to the end of the year. The difference is the quality in the shoes, not the brand of the shoes. Michael says, book for tonight, Creating Wealth Through Debt by Xander and Wilbur. We should make a book. um, I've been considering putting some stuff together, and I think that it's a fantastic idea to create an ebook that would encourage people to put more money towards turning their debt into a profit so that they are no longer in debt, knowing when to take out a cash loan to offset your credit card bills and make money for yourself. Find out what your interest rates are at your local credit unions, which is going to give you better interest rates than your local bank, and then see what your credit score looks like and see if you qualify for $5 or $10,000 loan and borrow against a stone. And if you're putting it in a high interest brokerage account, even if you pulled it out for debt correction, if you pulled it out and put it into a high interest brokerage account, and then you are able to take the dividends from the brokerage account and pay off the loan, you can find yourself improving your credit score. You can find yourself profiting off of borrowing that money, because if the interest rates from the bank loan is less than the interest rates from the brokerage account, that profit is the cost of doing business, because you're still making a plus on the entire transaction, and the portion that's going towards the loan is going to be tax exempt because you're paying back a loan. Steva says, I think with this topic, we are due for a call in from our friend today, and that should spin into Walmart debate. I don't know, man. I was waiting on Sterling to dive in and come and tell us about how much he hates Walmart again, but I strongly believe that by now, I think he understands that you can make your life better if you make changes. And since I'm not supporting a pity party, woe waste me, blame the big business, blame Walmart, blame whoever owns Walmart for the employees making a bad choice and actually getting a job with Walmart. I'm a man of first person accountability and responsibility. And when I'm like, bro, if you're not making enough money, but make more money, because there's only two ways to do it. And we talked about it yesterday and the day before. You either recognize what your bottom line needs to be and either spend less money for the cap in income that you have, or make more money for the baseline of expenses that you need to pay. So if you have a $24,000 a year income and you have a $45,000 a year lifestyle, you need to make more money. If you have a $24,000 a year income and you're not going to try to increase your income, then you need to spend less money. That's the only two ways to do it. If you're depending on disability, and disability is only there for people who cannot make more money, if you were able to start up a side business while you're on disability, getting paid off of the computer to make money for yourself, eventually you'll make more money than disability will allow you to get paid from them on, and they will eventually cut you off of disability, but you will be making more than the $1,000 a month that they're giving you. So why cap your life at a $12,000 a year salary just so that you don't have to go to work, when you can actually have a small business that's making you $24,000 a year salary on top of your other job, because dude was working at Walmart for 12,000 a year and getting disability at 12,000 a year, which is a $24,000 a year lifestyle. But why not work for Walmart for 12,000 a year and then have a side business that's paying you another 20,000 a year, and now you got a $35,000 a year lifestyle where his $1,200 a month medication would have been covered. That's the question. Because as long as you're not making enough money, they're going to keep paying you. So that would be a safety net for a small business startup. You're getting government funds to subsidize your life until your small business startup starts making more money than the government funds will allow. Then you can start saying, you know what, fuck this. Because at the same time, here's the funny part. If he's getting $1,000 a month, he's only allowed to make $1,000 a month as an income. As he starts making $500 a month on his side job, he can work less hours at Walmart and start make $500 a month at Walmart. Then, when he starts making $1,000 a month on his side job, he can quit Walmart altogether and get paid to stay at home. Now he's his own boss. He's got his $1,000 a month coming in. He's saving money on transportation to get to and from work, and now he has the $1,000 a month from the government. As he starts turning that into $2,500 a month, he stops getting his disability, but his business is self-sustainable. Once he starts flipping that business over to $3,000 and $4,000 a month, he's making more money than he needs. Michael says the good old debt to income debate. It is. Here's a good question. Do you think people are lazy or they think they are stuck? More often than not, people are in a mental state of being stuck, specifically because they have more stuff that they would like to pay for than they have enough money coming in. They do not have as many opportunities at their current age and skill set as they did 5, 10, 15 years ago. They are not willing to reduce their standard of living in order to take the pay cut to change to a different industry. Just like we were talking about yesterday. If you're making $65,000 a year working in a fast food restaurant, you're not going to take that pay cut to make $45,000 a year to be a teacher or get a CDL license and drive a truck, where you're taking a $15,000 or $20,000 a year pay cut until you build up your reputation in order to get to a higher pay scale. Because for anybody who's been working on their job for the last 5 or 10 years, you're not getting base pay on that company. You're getting $2, $3 an hour, $5 an hour above starting salary. If you change out of your job to another job in the same field, you can probably get match pay, and in some situations, a quarter raise, 50-cent raise, dollar raise to change over. If you was working on one job on day shift and you work on another job on night shift might pay more than day shift. Waffle House gives you an extra $1.50 an hour to work night shift because night shift has drunks. So they're ultimately giving you hazard pay. They don't tell you that, but that's what they're giving you because it's more volatile overnight than what it is during the day. And since you got to deal with that chaos overnight, they give you more money for night shift than what they give you for day shift. Right now, ultimately, though, you can make $65,000 to $75,000 a year working as a night shift supervisor at a Waffle House. So would you quit that job to get paid $45,000 a year or $55,000 a year to be a nurse? No. And then you have to go to college. You got to do all of this extra stuff so that you can get a more prestigious job that pays less money than your current job. That's why most people are going to feel stuck. Mentally, they're going to be stuck and frozen in time. You're right. Have you noticed people online asking for money? I've noticed that crowdfunding has become so popular to the magnitude. It's wild that you could probably see somebody get money from crowdfunding if they tell the right sob story faster than you can get money to a charity. But nobody is willing to donate to somebody coming up. They're only willing to donate to somebody in a devastated position. So as long as you're worse off than I am, I'm willing to give you a little bit of money to keep you from suffering too much. But if you have a strategic plan to come up above me, I'm not donating into that. Most people are going to say, fuck that guy, let that guy suffer. He made his bed, he should lie in it. But the suffrage that happens in this country isn't always from immediate bad decisions. It's usually the consequences of catastrophic failure, which could be external, like a traffic crash, a layoff. We had 500,000 people over the course of 7 months get fired from the United States government and tech companies. Those people did nothing wrong. But if they cannot find a replacement job, they go from being middle and upper middle class at a $250,000 a year income to being poverty. Those same government agents, when they were on furlough, went from being upper middle class to food bank, begging for groceries. He said, my dog needs new dentures. No, they actually are going to tell, oh, my dog needs an operation, heart surgery. Take a picture of your dog looking like it's on its deathbed, and then everybody who loves animal will give you money. Some people can screenshot some shit, Photoshop it, and make it look like the dog is half dead, and then everybody will pay into that pot to help that dog. Then you take the money and keep it, and never spend the money on the dog's medical treatment. Some people will go to the hospital for regular checkups, take photos of themselves in the hospital, and then say, "Oh, I need a kidney, I need a lung, I need this, I need that, I need blah 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 blah, major surgery, $500,000." People start donating to that. They pocket the money and never have to go to work. There's a lot of ways that people could get money. He says, like I could ask for money for my husband who did 5 wars. Yep, anything veteran related, everybody patriotic would donate to that. He said, and protected you and has so many credentials and was hurt. Then asked, I would never do this ever, but there are people online that, I know you're right. There are people who would do that. There are people that would actually do. Oh yeah, my grandpa did 5 wars, blew off his shins defending our country. Oh, I've got his 3 kids and I don't have a job, stay at home parent, and I can't afford to do X, Y, and Z. Send me money. And people will do it. I'll support my troops and take care of his family while he's protecting our country overseas. People will do it. People will do it. Not I, but people will do it. People will do it. I'm a walking charity, so anything you got to donate to me. I'll do something for somebody else with the money you give to me, but be damned if I'm going to take what I got going on and try to send it to another charity. That's not going to work out. Now, we were talking about tariffs. Tariffs puts the theory that we were talking about on steroids. 1 second. She says, my husband actually did that, and life is hard, but no way I asked for money. Oh no, I understand that your husband did 5 wars, but if you were to do like a GoFundMe or I can't remember the other one. GoFundMe is the one that comes off the top of my head, but there's a bunch of peer-to-peer ones. And if you were to say, oh, hey, my husband did five wars already. He came back, he's hurt, he can't work. We don't have enough money to survive. We got 2, 3, 5 kids together. We live in a suburban home. Then we're not getting the government benefits that we're entitled to, especially if you say that part, that after all of this service that your husband gave to the country, your country's not paying him back like he's supposed to get paid. Oh, everybody would throw in on that, or at least like 50% of America would throw in on that. Patriots would jump on that. Trump supporters would jump on that. Yeah, you'd be making all kind of money off of something like that. Most people don't. There are some people with self pride to the magnitude that they do not want to ask, not just beg. They do not want to ask for help. They will first suffer and struggle in silence before they ask for help. Sometimes you have to look at your situation and recognize that you do qualify to say, hey, I could use a little bit of a subsidy. But a lot of times, so many people would prefer to ask for that subsidy so that they do not have to work a regular 9 to 5. And that's the reason why it is so hard for people who deserve it to get it, because so many people who don't deserve it ask for it. And it's almost like crying wolf. We get tired of hearing it and then people just stop. Right. So if you're trying to start up a nonprofit, the easiest way to do it is to show the results first, which means that you would have to self fund the nonprofit for an extended period of time. Then, when the public eye sees the results of what you're putting your money towards, everybody else will buy into it because they see the good cause happening in real time. Then they're going to be like, oh shit, I should have done that. Let me give money to him because he's got the right plan. Because if you build it, they'll fund it. But if you don't build it, they're not going to fund their dream. This isn't a venture capitalist situation. People will give to an already existing good cause, but people will not create the good cause, right? Like I told you guys like 6 months to a year ago, I was talking to you guys about how we could fix homelessness if we just had one operation and each person put up $10 a month. The out of the not even the entire American population, we would something to the magnitude of I think $45 million a year. I think we calculated I think it was either million or billion. I think it was $45 million a year. It would ultimately within five years it would do away with. It was 10 years. It would do away with homelessness. But in if it was $45 billion, it would be 5 years. It would do away with homelessness. But it just requires everybody to put their money into the pot, and then the company that does it, the nonprofit that does it, legitimately put the money in all the right places and don't stretch the fees and try to squeeze extra dollars out and pocket extra stuff for themselves. Like legitimately put the money towards paying people what they're worth to do the job, and then doing what they got to do to get people on their feet. And you could do what not only do away with homelessness as homelessness diminishes, you can actually have subsidies for individuals that are in high risk situations where they could potentially get limited vouchers to aid them with not having to worry about being homeless, which would piggyback off of helping HUD and Section 8, which would increase a lot more people keeping housing. And with the new situations that's turning around where a big business has to start selling houses if they own more than 305 or 350 houses. Ultimately, if you help people get on their feet, get themselves a job within 2 to 5 years, you can help them work themselves into home ownership, and that would completely permanently eliminate the whole homeless population situation. And that's something that not everybody thinks about. But there's a plan out there. It's just nobody's willing to pay for it right now. Catherine says, well, I am a third wife and I am strong and I helped him get to 100% and we're okay now. Congratulations. She said he's still working, but it's so hard for him. But I and we never asked for money, only what he was supposed to get. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Michael says, does China, Russia, and Japan have homeless people? Every country around the world has homeless people. There isn't a country that I know of that does not have a percentage of its population that is destitute. It is just that in this country, we waste so much money on bullshit that we do have a way to put a stop to it. We just don't want to because we don't want to make somebody else's life better than ours, but we will, for the sake of our own pride, put something into the pot to help somebody not starve to death. So there's a limit to how much the American people help each other because one poor person will not help another poor person become not poor anymore. But one poor person will take a homeless, unemployed person and not let them starve to death. But the funny thing is that reciprocation is that if you built me up to a self-sustainable entity, I would build you up to a self-sustainable entity. So if 10 people help one person be successful and that one person helped 10 people be successful, then 11 people will be successful. But if 10 people will give that one person a meal, that one person just got 10 meals, but that one person is still broke down and out. And those 10 people feel good about themselves because they gave away one plate of food. The problem isn't solved. You're just treating the symptoms. Steven says, I would eat ramen daily before I ask for food. Right. But they got some people who got to at least ask for the $5 to buy two of those 12 packs of ramen. She said, I know there are homeless that sense this, that sensuality, their situations. I think that's a typo. On YouTube, and they have a phone and no interest in a job. Oh, you're talking about the guys that are promoting their homelessness on YouTube. They got cell phones, they got computers. They're making money off of being homeless. They have no intent on getting a job, and they will consistently sit there and just ride the wave on. Uh, yeah, okay. I figured that was a typo. Sensationality, yes, that makes a lot more sense. They will promote the fact that they're homeless. They will have people donate to the cause, and then they'll take that money cash out on it because they play on your heartstrings. You have those situations where a person will show a guy giving money to a homeless guy, and then they'll put up a link to donate to the cause. You'll have a guy um giving taking somebody off the street and giving them an apartment, and they'll say donate to the cause. You'll have a guy that like give a dude a shoes or something like that, say donate to the cause. And because of that, people will donate to the cause. Now, it's still treating the symptoms. Some people actually do help the homeless people, but there's a lot of people that profit off of it. There are people like they've shown where people with Bentleys will park their car down the street. They will get out of their car looking like a homeless guy. They'll go out there and that be their job. They will just out there in the street all day long, panhandling for whatever they can get from the people that pass by. And they find strategic places, off ramps of overpasses, major traffic lights, and they will hang out there $200-300 out of a day, but they're only there for 2 or 3 hours, where they're averaging like $100 an hour for the limited time that they're there, and they catch all of the people that are throwing out 20s, tens, and hundreds at that intersection, and then they jump in their Bentley and drive off. If you only got to be out there for 2 hours to make $100, you don't really got to work all day because you're out there for 2 hours panhandling. You can panhandle for 2 hours and get off the block. She said, I saw a poor woman being ripped off $100. Then she donated $200 and uh, ended up reporting them. Oh yeah, well that's what happens. That's what happens. Now, as it pertains to this tariff situation, um, lower income households spends much larger chunks of their income on basic necessities, food, clothing, household goods, etc. Now, higher income households spend more money on services like investments, travel, and savings. Tariffs are taxed on goods, and especially the most important goods that we live off of is going to be the things that fills the shelves of our discount stores and make up the bulk of a struggling family's budget. It's not the same as wealthy people. So, in analysis of a similar tariff proposal from the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policies, paints a stark picture where they projected that for the poorest 20% of American individuals, such a package could feel like a tax increase equal to 6.2% of their income. For middle class, uh, it's like 20%. Well, for the middle 20% of individuals, it would be like 5% increase on their income. And for the richest 1% of individuals, it's an estimated hit of only 1.7% for the same tariff that impacts the economy. Put simply, the tax burden relative to ability to pay is going to be more than 3.5 times heavier for the poorest family than what the ultra wealthy would feel. It said tariffs on food. Tariffs on food, furniture, uh, tools. You've seen steel, they were taxing steel and wood, textiles and screws and all kinds of stuff. All of the average things that this chair was made this year, it would have had a higher price on it than what it was in 1950 when it was put together. It's a it's everything's gonna be higher. And this isn't an accident. It's an effect that is baked into the strange structure of the United States tariff code. Research from economists has shown that for many goods, the cheaper versions of a product faces a higher tariff rate than its luxury counterpart. Their examples are going to be stunning because there's a high-end handbag made of reptile leather that might face a 5.3% tariff, while a cheaper plastic sided handbag faces a 16% tariff. The tariff system, in many ways, already has the effect of punishing people for buying affordable things. A board new tariff, a broader new tariff would just amplify this injustice because the broader new tariff is going to add another 2.5% to what everybody's already paying. It says tariffs do not work, kind of, period, between cooperating countries. No, tariffs don't work because export cost has the homeland paying to ship stuff out, and import cost has the homeland paying to ship stuff in. The companies that have to pay that tariff is going to offset the price onto the customers they sell the product to. So the people who are paying for it is the American people. Now, what that does holistically on a macro level, if the product becomes too expensive in America, people are not going to buy it. The less people buy it, the less the retailer sells it. The less the retailer sells it, the less the retailer imports it in. The less the retailer imports it in, the less the importer requests it from the manufacturer. The less the importer requests it from the manufacturer, the less the manufacturer gets paid from America. But that is a down the line effect. It is not a instant, we go from 10% tariff to 12.5% tariff, and then all of a sudden China's no longer sending Jordans to America. No, that's not going to happen. Jordans are just going to go up from $350 to $475, and Americans are going to buy it because while we don't need Jordans, poor people need to look like they can afford stuff, so they will pay the inflated cost for Jordans. And since they're already paying inflated cost to pre-order stuff, so that they can be the first one to have it, so that they can show off a hard to come by item in a poor neighborhood, they're willing to already pay an inflated cost for a product that's not worth that value. Once that becomes the standard price, not the pre-order price, they're already used to the price, which is why poor people stay poor. Is for car parts, for example, it goes back and forth, and some is made in the United States and some in Canada, and therefore the free trade agreement to allow parts and so on to make a car compete. Well, the free trade agreement between certain countries is going to have one country not tax the other country for certain trades, but the tariff that is applied to certain, like let's say car parts, for example, because cars went up $15,000 in 2026 because of the tariffs in 2025. So any part that is manufactured in another country and shipped to and there's a lot of parts that are doing that, shipped to America, and then the car is assembled in America, it's still made in America because it was put together in America, but the majority of the parts came from like 30 different countries that we do trades with. Now, overall, they might pay an extra $5,000 in costs to get the product in, but they're going to offset that cost to the customer and charge an extra $15,000 on the total price of every car. So a $15,000 Honda Accord is now going to be $25,000 or $30,000. A $20,000 Toyota Camry is now going to be $35,000 because they're going to make their money off of the car even after they pay the tariff for the parts. Now, the average American person that looks at that $35,000 car and says, I can't afford that, they're going to go buy a used car. That means the new car won't get sold, which means that less cars are going to be requested or assembled, which means that the demand will diminish and then the parts will be less valuable, which means that the product will stop coming in as quickly, which means that the manufacturer will make less money. But it's a down the line effect. 2026 prices might make less car sales in 2027, cause 2028 distribution to be impacted. But in 2026, people are paying extra money for cars. In 2027, people will pay extra money for cars. Ultimately, the regular person pays more because the tariff will be built in. That is correct. And because the regular person doesn't have the financial sense to say that is too much money, I'm not going to pay for that. The regular person would just shrug their shoulders and say, I need a new car. They're going to pay for the extra $15,000 inflated cost of the car that has the wiretap system in the car where they're monitoring your communication. They're visually monitoring you with the cameras in the car and reporting you to the police from inside of your car. That stuff was passed by Congress and put into law in 2021, and then mandatorily required to have that technology put in cars that are being made for 2027. And people are going to buy 2027 and 2028 models that are going to be GPS tracking your location, reporting your speed to the police, reporting whether or not you're intoxicated. Some of them having built-in shutdown systems where if you look inebriated in some way, shape, or form, irregulated heart rate or something to that effect, you look like you might be sleepy, car will completely turn itself off, break down, and you will be stuck until your vitals show normal and you can't go nowhere, or you got to get a tow truck, which is going to be inconvenient to people buying new cars. But people will buy the new car because I need a new car. You need a functional car. It doesn't need to be new. It could be a 2002. As long as that bitch run, you can get you another car that is more effective than the one that you have, and then take the one that you have and put it into the shop so that you don't need another car. That's what people need to start doing. But they're gonna keep paying that extra price because they haven't learned yet. She said, so then is actually assist us to the customers. Yeah, it's gonna eat away at us. He says, if it ain't made before 2018, I don't want it. Can ride and ride that may have COVID contamination. Well, I have no problem with picking up the cars from as far back as 2020 because the law was passed in 2021. Any vehicle after 2021, when a law was passed, could potentially have the equipment in it, but all of the vehicles before 2021 does not have the equipment in it. So 2020 would be the last model that I would be comfortable with buying. And in 2021 model, I could buy in 2041 and still feel comfortable with having a car that is not GPS tracking my situation. Right now, I got a 2008 and it's almost 2028. It's a 20-year-old car. So if I upgrade, I would upgrade from a 2008 to, like Steven said, a 2018 and keep that car for 20 years. Because I'll wait a few months till you're tired of it and buy it from you. Exactly. Buy that bitch used after they finish paying all that extra money to get that motherfucker. Then when they trade it in, I'm gonna buy it from them. That way I ain't paying that much money for the shit. That's the perfect way to get it done. He says, guess what? I'll keep my 2003 Jaguar. It's working, running amazing. Oh shit. Okay, so only problem I got with Jaguar is that they be trying to make you replace your transmission every 50,000 miles. That I don't like that. That's the only thing I don't like. If it wasn't for that, I'd be Jaguar all the way because it is a very functional, it's a very amazing car. It doesn't require that much maintenance, but the transmission is a red flag. The transmission is a red flag. But if you can afford to replace that transmission every 50,000 miles and you're not putting 50,000 miles on your car every year where you only got to do a transmission job once every 5 or 7 years, then A, keep that car till the wheels fall off. But for me, I would have to do my transmission one time out of the life of my car if I had a Chrysler, if I had a Cadillac, if I had a Toyota, a Honda, a Nissan, a Focus, anything like that. But a Jaguar, eh. And then you have like the BMWs and the Mercedes. They have way more they're toy cars for a reason because you ride them until they start breaking and you trade them in, and then when somebody buys a used, it's somebody else's problem. He says is a 2002 to 2009 is a Ford model. Oh, okay, so you got one that is inside of the era where they wasn't putting that crappy ass transmission in it. Only have 118 miles. No wonder. Now I said 50,000 miles is a problem. You only got 118,000 miles. Well, you got 118 miles on it, not 118,000 miles on it. So with 118 miles on it, if you only drive 30 miles a week, you're not going to reach the 50,000 mile transmission problem for a long time. Yeah, BMW means bring more wallet. Yeah, you're right. It's a money pit. It's a money pit, and it's a money pit for a reason. Now we have a tale of two shopping carts. Oh, you had 118,000 miles on your Jaguar, and you haven't serviced your transmission yet. It's coming. because the average car usually asks for a transmission service somewhere between 150 and 250, depending on the year, make, and model. But Jaguars usually are around 50,000 miles. So the fact that you got one that was a Ford model, you might not see that transmission issue for another 22,000 miles. Oh, you probably got it after somebody serviced the transmission before they had to do it a third time. They were like, fuck that. They probably just serviced the transmission at 100,000 miles and you got it at 17,000 miles. So you might still have, like I said, another 20, 30,000 miles on it before you need to do that transmission. But when it happened, you're going to be like, yep, he did call it. Xander said right at this point, it's going to call in for a service. Now, if you're the kind of person that does preventative maintenance, you're going to put it in the shop and you're going to fix it before it breaks. And that's going to mean that you're not going to have to do like a whole transmission replacement. So it might be cheaper to repair what normally wears out on them instead of the whole like transmission stop shifting gears. And then you got to tow it to a mechanic shop and do a replacement. Because my Jag is Florida driven. Oh, yeah. You're going to be putting a lot more miles on that motherfucker. Everything far in Florida. I can tell you because here in Tampa Bay, it's like an hour from it's an hour from Apollo Beach to Tampa. It's not that far. You know what I mean? It's like 45 minutes to Orlando. It's 4 hours to Miami. It's like everywhere of importance. It's like nowhere cheap. You're looking at 50 to 100 miles in one direction. Yeah, you're doing 100 to 150 miles a day on that. It's easy. Oh, you do preventative maintenance and repairs is easy, like a Lincoln chassis. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Now let's get back to the Tail Two shopping cart. So let's visualize the two different shopping carts. For a higher income family, we have a cart that might have organic local groceries, which are less likely to be directly hit by the tariffs. They might buy a designer silk shirt, which, thanks to those quirks, the tariff code could have a lower duty than cheaper polyester ones. A big part of their monthly budget goes to their mortgage, investments, and family vacations. Now, notice when I was telling you, Stephen, when I was telling you about silk and satin shirts, when I was telling you about certain dress pants, when I was telling you about higher quality dress shoes, notice how I just came back and started talking about the tariffs that are hitting at 12.5%, and it's not hitting those products. So when I told you that buying dress clothes would be cheaper for you over time than buying the average street clothes because of the quality of the material, the design, the structure, the durability, and the lower price due to it not being branded, you would find yourself with better quality, lower costing stuff that would last you longer. This is exactly a follow-up on that in an incidental situation. Now, all of their services that a higher value individual would be paying for is not subject to import tariffs. Price hikes on their imported German car parts are going to be annoying, but it's a small fraction of their overall spending. Now, let's look at a second card belonging to a family in the bottom 25% of earners. These are the folks that go and shop at Walmart, Target, other stuff, Burlington Coat Factory, other stuff, places like that. This card is going to be full of items like discount superstores where almost everything is imported goods to keep the prices lower. We're going to have an inexpensive clothing line for the kids, like from Bangladesh or Vietnam. Special shout out to Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Kazakhstan. I appreciate you guys for coming to the show on a regular basis. Belarus. Special shout out to Belarus. There's a new microwave from China to replace the broken one because, I mean, the cost to fix the microwave is way more than it costs to replace one. Canned foods with ingredients from around the world. Walmart brand is Walmart brand. Great value is because it is shipped in from somewhere else. That shit ain't picked out in the cotton fields in the middle of Alabama. Nah, shit costs too much money. Basic household supplies like cleaning products and light bulbs, all sourced globally. So a new set of budget tires for their used car, right? Which is a necessity for getting to work. Well, this family, with nearly every item in their cart is vulnerable to the hidden tariff taxes. So a 10% or 12.5% tariff doesn't just raise the price of one thing, it raises the price of everything. that $150 grocery bill suddenly $160. The $80 microwave is $88. The four new tires that used to be already stretched at $400 at $100 a tire, now $444 for the set. There aren't small numbers when your budget has zero room for breathing, and for families with an extra 40 or $50 a week in hidden taxes, it's an annoyance that becomes a crisis because there's a difference between paying the electric bill on time or not, and it's choosing between prescription medication and groceries. It's the car repair that gets put off, risking a breakdown that could cost someone their job. Right? This is huge. Kathy says, do you think that USA can replace manufacturing in China for no tariffs? I believe there are people that believe that USA can replace them. You believe that? Do I believe that the United States can replace manufacturing in China for no tariffs? That is what the claim is for the increase in duty costs, is that if manufacturing came back to America and it was created here, put together here, and sold here, it would be cheaper and it would create more jobs. Have you ever been to China or to Hong Kong? I have not, but we're going to be taking a podcast all over the world as we get larger. Now, one of the things I think about is, first of all, China is bigger than America. Believe it or not, the world maps that we get in America makes America look bigger than the rest of the world, but they just zoomed in on us. I think us and Australia are about what in size. So they have more space over there. However, in America, industrial plants would pollute the environment more, which, like when we were talking about Indonesia with the plastic fuel and how the byproduct of burning that plastic fuel harmed their environment. If we started creating certain things here in America and started creating more factories and more plants that would be creating more pollution here in our country, we would have a less satisfactory ecosystem because we would have more pollution from the creation of products. Being able to ship the products from somewhere else, their country is polluted, our country is not. And then we have the observation that the cost to get stuff done in America is higher than the cost to get stuff done overseas because everybody right now is demanding 25, 30, $40 an hour to get living wage for something that people in like the Philippines is willing to do for $500 a month. So big business wanting to keep their money in their pockets would prefer, like take T-Mobile, for example. Anybody with a T-Mobile phone has experienced customer service from the Philippines. They will pay somebody in the Philippines $500 a month for a call center to answer the phone, whereas an American person might be getting $4,000 a month to answer that same phone. It's cheaper for the company because they're only paying 25% of the cost for overseas service that they would have paid for American service, which means that 75% more money can go to the shareholders. Now, notice when I told you guys middle class and upper middle class spends more money on investments. They are the shareholders. So when big business hoards 75% of the money so that they can give 35 or 40% of the money to the shareholders split that 35, 40% amongst themselves. The poor class, the 25% of Americans who can't afford to invest, do not benefit from that because they live paycheck to paycheck and they don't invest. So that's going to be a domino effect. She said, I have. Congratulations. There is a global supply chain for a reason. Tariffs are dumb. Tariffs are stupid. But this is how big business and corporate greed can be funneled into politics, and how politics negatively impacts your ability to make and save and invest money. He said, I can tell you the US, nor Canada, nor Australia, nor Europe can do what has been done with any accuracy or cost. Oh, everything that's happening in China is so much more efficient. They can dig a ditch, repave it, seal it up, and use it in the same day with one fucking machine. We would have 30 Mexicans digging that ditch. We would have 20 Americans on death row filling that ditch in. We would have 75 contractors repaving that motherfucker. It would take 5 years to dig that same ditch, and the shit still wouldn't have nothing flowing through it. Our system in America is so inefficient, but it wasn't designed to be efficient. It was designed to be profitable. Because I was there in 2012 twice, once in Hong Kong and once in China. Congratulations. Hey, I know that we are not the best country in the world. On paper, we're claimed to be the best country in the world, but statistically, everything that's identified as a top quality country, we're like in the bottom 135%. Then I just found out recently that allegedly our visa is not even the number one visa worldwide. We're like number 10 as the most appreciative visa around the world, primarily because a lot of the countries we're at war with right now, we're either at war with or we have political disarray with. And as a result, our visa is not allowed to go in certain places, no fly zones. She says, I've been there. You have no idea. I have been in the factories. Well, I don't have to be in a factory in Hong Kong, China to know that China and Hong Kong and Indonesia and Venezuela and Vietnam and all of these other places are more efficient than the United States. And I don't have to be in a factory in America to know that the gigafactory in Texas is creating 20 years of pollution for every Tesla battery. And they're putting out like 3,600 Teslas a year for the Cybertruck, just the Cybertruck, not all of the models. So if you imagine 20 years of pollution for each truck, each one of those trucks would have to run for 25 years to benefit the economy, the ecosystem that they were created in. And that's just one economic impact, or not economic impact, but environmental impact. So I don't have to have like a full on idea of exactly how efficient they are in another country. What I understand is that my country is deliberately not efficient. My country is designed for profit, and profit isn't always efficient. The only efficiency that they make is not wasting unnecessary cost on labor so that whatever performance they get turns them more profit than it costs them to create it. That's it. The design is to turn a profit. If they can turn a larger profit, then they're going to aim for the larger profit. Nothing in America is designed to put a stop to inconvenience. Our medication is designed to treat the symptoms, not cure the disease. You don't make as much money off of curing the disease as you would if you just treat the symptoms of the disease. Treating the symptoms of the disease is a lifelong customer. Curing the disease is a one-time or 12-time interaction, depending on how many doses you use. She says, so how are they saying is okay to return all manufacturing to North America as a whole? It's a political ploy. That's what we were just talking about. It's a political ploy. So here's the thing. The tariffs is going to be used as a political position to convince big business to bring more jobs back to America. Big business is not going to bring more jobs back to America because, as I explained to you, that they can pay somebody in a third world country 25% or 10% of what they would pay in America to do the exact same job. So that's the first thing. Then when they ship it to America, they're going to pay the tariff. They're going to offset the tariff to the price. It was already cheaper to create because they're creating it in another country. They're going to add the tariff to the price. Then they're going to inflate the price to the retailer. Then the retailer is going to inflate the price to the customer, and we're going to pay more money. The thing is, though, big business is going to pay the shareholders. The shareholders are going to pay the millionaires and billionaires. The millionaires and billionaires pay for the campaign trail for the presidents. The top 25 or 30% of America benefits from the bottom 75% of America spending money on stuff that they shouldn't be spending money on. And the political position is inflation, which nobody understands, and taxation, which everybody complains about, and tariffs, which nobody understands. But ultimately, poor people pay more money to stimulate the economy. Uh, the government will give stimulus checks to the poor people so that poor people can spend more money because it's a bottom up effect. Money trickles upward because when poor people spend money, they buy stuff, goods and services, and that money goes into the businesses that are owned by the millionaires and billionaires who don't spend money unless they need to. Poor people spend money because they have it. Rich people only spend money that they need to spend, and they invest everything that they don't need to spend. Like I keep going off on those folks that went on with thousands of dollars for Bentleys and Rolls Royces and $50,000 staple to their prom dress kind of shit for prom this year. You got this big ass stimulus check, not a stimulus check, a tax refund. You took all this tax refund shit to spend to give your kids the type of prom they would never forget, where that would be the highlight of their entire life because they will never be as lavish as that one night. And one kid got killed behind it. But they did not invest in those children's future. They could have paid for their kids' college with that. They could have bought houses so that they would no longer have to rent anymore. They could have bought cars for their children where their kids would have had stable cars to get to and from work with instead of having to catch the bus and ride with friends and all of this other shit. You could have taught them financial responsibility, but the bottom 25% got all of that extra money from their income taxes and they spent it this year. Like I said, one of the kids that got killed, all that money she spent on prom, mama couldn't bury her baby. She had to do a GoFundMe to pay for the funeral because she wasted her whole tax refund on the fucking prom. This is why America stays broke. She said, I spoke with a friend who said if manufacturing returns to the United States, then they create good jobs and no one wants to pay them. The ROI is not worth it. And no one wants to pay $3,000 for a TV again to be made in America. That's exactly the point. Yes, jobs will come back to America, but the return on investment is that American jobs is going to be paid at American prices, and nobody. If you have the goods and services, the fresh foods that are being shipped in from a third world country, you're $3 a pound for grapes would be $30 a pound for grapes. Your freaking salad at Wendy's would be $50 if we were getting it from Americans. Everybody was complaining about the Mexicans stealing our jobs, and the majority of Mexicans that wasn't small business owners were in construction and agriculture. They weren't in tech. They weren't teaching. They weren't in hospitals. They weren't in warehouses and Amazon and shit. They were in places where Americans don't want to work. And at the end of the day, they complained about the Mexicans being here. And then when you started deporting the Mexicans from America, for every one Mexican that got deported, 4 Americans lost their jobs. We're putting 13 million Mexicans out of America, still deporting them right now. And as we reduce the quantity of Mexicans from the American population, more and more Americans are getting fired because there are nobody spending money in the broke stores, in the poor man specific stores that the Mexicans were spending their money in. So you're getting rid of an entire financial class. 13 million Americans is a large portion of the population. Oh, well, so they're not Americans, but 13 million people from America is a large portion of the population that was a lower income spending. And all the businesses that cater to the low income spending lost 13 million customers. And 13 million customers spending $50,000 a year, that's billions of dollars that is being taken out of their pockets, which is hundreds of thousands of jobs that are going to be taken out of American people's homes. And then we got to figure something out. Nobody wants to spend $3,000 for a TV, but nobody wants the TV to be shipped in from Taiwan, Thailand, China, India, Iran. Nobody wants it to be. You can't get both. You're either going to get a cheap TV shipped in from another country, or you're going to pay $3,000 from a TV made in the United States. But here's the funny part, because the average person watches stuff on their cell phone. Most stuff on their cell phone comes from an app. Why not buy a projector from China for $50 and watch TV on your ceiling for $50 instead of spending $400 for a Vizio at Walmart? For you to do the exact same thing. Use the apps on a smart TV to watch fucking TV. If you're YouTube from your TV right now, you could be YouTube from your projector right now and have a 200-inch screen on your ceiling, laying in bed, listening to this podcast from a projector instead of watching it from a TV. But people want to get that 200-inch TV to show off to their friends. I got a Vizio, I got a Samsung, I got an LG, and they do it to show off. It's flash wealth that they use to show off to other people so that they can get clout. And that's where they get robbed, because if somebody else sees that you got a big ass TV in your house and they want it and they can't afford to get one, they'll break into your house and steal your TV. But who the fuck is going to sneak into your house and run off with your projector? Nobody. But you know what's funny? Think about this though. Think about some of the cribs TV shows where the wealthy people were showing off their house and they had that movie room. What was in that movie room? A bunch of chairs, an empty wall, and a fucking projector. That's what they had. Not a 2,000-inch TV. They had a projector on one side of the room at the ceiling, pointed at the screen in the front. It was a clean wall, and you had a bunch of chairs. You could sit there with your popcorn and your sodas and stuff, get the movie experience. But guess what? They took a large space and they were efficient about it. Everybody wished they had one, but nobody wants to do it. He said, question, do you not think that the economy there were two tiers? So if you cut everyone else, let's all buy a $3,000 TV for a factory that no one wants to work at, even though it's a good job. Think about that. Look, we just seen Amazon turn into a union, Starbucks turn into a union. People don't want to go to work. They demanded more money. You're looking at like coffee is going to be freaking expensive. You could go to Starbucks and spend $10 or $15 for a cup of coffee, and go to McDonald's and spend $15 for a sandwich and some fries. And we're sitting over here talking about some, we want to bring business back to America. I can get some imported TV dinners from out of the country that cost me $2 a plate and eat two of those, and that's $4 to be full instead of spending $10 on a sandwich and be hungry in 3 hours. I don't understand like the way people think in America, but I'd be pointing out how the efficiency in your spending habits is what changes you from being part of the bottom 25, moving you into the middle 50, and potentially moving you into the top 75. So when we zoom out, the projected numbers are going to be staggering, because economic models on similar tariff proposals gives us a glimpse of potential damage. An analysis from the Yale Budget Lab projected such policies could push between 650,000 and 875,000 people into poverty. So if they already wasn't struggling, they will be now. Now, this happens because poverty line is not standard, but the poverty line is currently set at somewhere around $72,000 a year, $72,000 to $79,000 a year, because the working class is where the poverty line was supposed to be. The top of the poor class is the working class, and the working class is like $1,765 a week. Most people don't see that. So if you're below that, the truly destitute line is set at 30,000. And if you're making between $25,000 and $30,000 a year, then you're inside of a poverty scenario where you start getting food stamps, WICs, other TANF programs, Social Security, disability, stuff to that effect. But if you're above 30,000, you don't get the government funds, but you're still struggling until you make it to 100,000. And then your needs are met, but satisfaction stops increasing, right? And this is going to be a situation where prices rise, but wages don't. Families who were just barely keeping their heads above water suddenly go underwater, right? She says, so now let us make a manufacturing plant for TVs, and no one worked there. I'm doing it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That should make no sense. Do you know about the 12 square mile idea? No. What is the 12 square mile idea? What is the 12 square mile idea? Because I know that when Michael was telling me about the apartments that and stuff that's in like China and Vietnam and stuff like that, that's like 240 square meters or something like that. And I'm sitting over here looking at them like, sheesh. Like I'm in a room right now that's like 50 square feet in a room. I'm talking about like 2,500 square feet for the whole building. I'm talking about like an acre for just me. So when you start talking about 250 for square feet or square meter for the whole spot, I'm like, nah, that ain't even enough space to park my car. My driveway is bigger than that. So for the bottom half of households, one analysis based on Yale data suggested a potential purchasing power loss of around $3,800 a year for an average household. That pain isn't felt equally. Reporting from NPR on a similar scenario estimates that lower income families could see their purchasing power cut by an additional 3.9%, which is about $1,500 a year for those on tight budgets. That's not vacation money. That's the rent, food, and healthcare money that was vanishing already. For the poorest quarter of Americans, the ITEP analysis projected a hit equal to 6.2% of their income. And that would be catastrophic because it means less food, more debt, and postponed medical care. It's a direct hit to their standard of living, imposed by a policy sold as a way to make America stronger, making America great again. The, the damage from the hidden tariff tax doesn't stop at your wallet, it sends tremors through the whole economy, creating a cascade of problems that can end up hurting the very workers the policy is claiming to help. Now, as we touched on, the broad tariff raises, um, where the prices are increasing for the entire category of goods, creating a price umbrella. Domestic firms, shielded from cheaper foreign competition, are free to raise their own prices. So let me get on that in a second. You say the 12 square miles is your friends and family in your circle and not an actual 12 square miles. They could be on Europe or Australia or Canada. I got no friends in Europe, Australia, or Canada. I'll have to do some research about the 12 square miles thing. We really cannot do anything about it unless you are there in Parliament. True, but we're supposed to be doing elections November 23rd of 2026, so everybody can start voting out the people who's already been there and start voting in some people who could make some changes. We've been having elections all year in different cities and states around the country. We have presidential elections next year for, is it next year? No, because we're halfway through, so that'll be year three. So there'll be other judicial elections and other such stuff, teachers and deans and faculty advisors and everything to that effect, town halls, sheriffs, chief of police, and all that other stuff. Um, Town halls for construction, repairs, and other such things that we could be voting on. Um, if you're a shareholder in some of the companies that are making financial decisions, because Stephen will tell you that as a shareholder of a lot of the stocks that I talk to you guys about, they actually ask you for your voter opinion because shareholders vote on what the money is being used for. And if your vote went towards better stuff being done in America, then likely more people that have shares in big business start deciding that their money would be better spent on bringing business back home, then the business would be brought back home. But as long as most of us don't vote and the rest of us don't care, and as long as we're making money, make money for us, a lot of the stuff will get sent somewhere else. He said the concept is we look after our friends and family wherever they are. Oh, okay. That's a pretty decent concept. We have that no man gets left behind mentality. That's the concept that was drilled into us in the 90s and the early 2000s. So we take that military concept and we utilize that with taking care of our friends and family and never leaving somebody go undone intentionally. But that's if we have it. But I've been teaching you guys over the last like year and a half that making yourself responsible for somebody else's financial mistakes puts a burden on you that you don't need to do. And in order for you to regulate and mitigate that situation, that you would have to tax your friends and family for your assistance so that your return on investing in them gives you a larger surplus to reinvest in them, separate five. Um, and I'm going to be honest with you. I was in student government when I was in college, and I think it was 2013. We had went to the Capitol in Tallahassee, and while we were out there, I had the entire student government from my school with me, and everybody was starting to go into this grocery store because we did a pit stop, and one of my classmates had went back to the vehicle because they forgot something. I think they were trying to change their shoes or something like that. And I went back to the vehicle with him. It was a dude. It wasn't even a chick. And guy was like, well, you didn't have to come with me, dude. I can handle it. And I told him, hey, look, no man gets left behind, regardless of the situation. You're going back to the truck. You're not going back to the truck by yourself. There's 5 or 7 people going towards the store. You're going back to the vehicle by yourself. Even you could have something happen to you. So I'm going to be here with you until you're done doing what you're doing. And then we all go into the building together. So if something happened to you, you have at least one witness to account for what happened to you. And I took that through my entire upbringing. So it's a situation that does work. But I'm like, nah, you got to charge them. If you're aiding your family cost you, you need to charge them so that you can get a return on investment, so that you have more to do for. So every time they want $500 from you, charge them 550. They give you back the 550. Next time they need something, you got it. Because if they give you 550 10 times, now you got 1,000. Next time they come up and say, I need 1,000, you got the 1,000 because they've been giving it to you. Return on investment. Steven says, all children left behind. Great era. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, bro. When kids was getting left back, freaking 14 years old in the 7th grade because their ass wasn't learning, that was the best era ever. When they started doing No Child Gets Left Behind, that was the worst plan ever. Most of the folks is dumb. They don't have common sense. They don't want to learn. They don't want to be taught. And then they feel like they got it, and then they screw it up until they're in their mid 30s, and then they wonder what happened to their life. And they came out with less than 30% of what they needed to be successful. But we have this mentality: seeds make presidents. Look at Bill Clinton, George Bush. He said, not look after them financially, but no one help. Well, it doesn't matter if it's looking after them financially or if you knowing what they need and then telling them where to go to get the resources. I just know that a lot of people that are financially stable, that are good about budgeting their money, find themselves with emergency. Because when we talk about building an emergency fund, there's 2 ways that you can build it. Because if you advance pay all of your basic bills that are reoccurring bills with fixed rates, you could pay your light bill, phone bill, water bill, gas bill, cable bill, car insurance in advance, 6 months, a year, whatever. You can't do that with your mortgage. You can't do that with your car loan, but you can do it for your rent because they're only going to charge you a certain quantity of money per month for the duration of the contract. You can advance pay on certain bills. And because you owe them more money per month, or no, because they owe you more money per month of service than what they've already given you, you now have a zero balance due every month that you paid in advance, right? But there's another way that people say, well, put 3, 5, $7,000 into the bank, 10, 15, $20,000 into the bank. You can hold it in cash in case of an emergency where you need money now. I've talked about this on a lot of situations. You cannot think about right now one scenario where you need money today. Everything that happens can wait until next week. Everything that happens. Because if you go to the hospital, they're going to mail you a bill. You don't have to pay for medical treatment before you get treated. If your car gets towed, your car insurance should be able to cover it. Steven's got AAA. Your car gets towed under policy. If you don't have car insurance, you can charge it to a credit card. So maybe getting a tow, you might need $150 to tow your car right now. But if you took good care of your car, preventative maintenance, you wouldn't need a tow, right? You get into a car crash, your car's going to be towed from your insurance anyway, or the other person's insurance anyway. Um, Bills due, if you're paying your bills on time or early, you're not going to have a situation where unexpected bill comes up, right? If you don't have subscriptions that you don't need revolving around your credit cards where you get unnecessary bills being charged to your card, you don't have situations where you have bills that need to be paid that you didn't know need to be paid. So ultimately, the only time that you have a financial problem that you need to deal with right now is if your kids fuck up and you have to pay for them. If your girlfriend fucks up, you got to pay for her. If your boyfriend fucks up, you got to pay for him. If your mom and dad fucks up, you got to pay for them. Your sister and brother fucks up, you got to pay for them. Your friend fucks up, you got to pay for them. Your cousin, you see what I'm saying? Somebody else makes a bad decision that costs them more money than they have, and then they come to you, and then you bail them out financially. That's usually what budget responsible people suffer from with their lack of growth in their life. Yes, you have a little extra money in your pocket, but it is to help other people in your network not struggle. You become the safety net, upside down pyramid, keeping your friends from suffering. And I believe that that is the worst thing that people should do, which is why I say charge them. If you charge them for it, they'll stop asking, or you're going to have a surplus. She said, I ran into trouble many times a year ago for my ex medical costs. Exactly. That's your ex's medical cost. That wasn't your medical cost. He said chicken wings and Pepsi. His mess was $3,600 per month, and no one could pay, and we had to put on a credit card. Yeah, because but that was his. That wasn't yours, and it wasn't unexpected. He knew. He was told at the doctor, "This is how much it's gonna cost." This is the insurance company said, "This is how much it's gonna cost." We had Sterling come up here 4 or 5 times, and he was talking about how his Ozempic cost him $1,200 a month. He's known this, but he hasn't done anything to change his situation to make an extra $1,200 a month. You find a problem, you got to either do one or two things. You're either going to make more money so that you can cover the cost, or you're going to spend less money. If you're stuck on a $2,000 a month budget, you're going to need to reduce your standard of living to $800 a month so that you have that $1,200 a month to pay for the thing, or make more money. That's like the only two things you can do. Now, a study on the 2018 tariffs on washing machines is going to be a perfect example for the tariff situation, because when the United States taxed imported washing machines, their prices went up about 12%. But the price for domestically made dryers also went up 12%. So even though they weren't taxed, the competition raised their prices. So local businesses raised their prices. So the customers are now still buying the brand, because if every time Samsung raises their price, iPhone raises their price too, both phones are going to be worth $2,000 in like 3 years, because people are willing to pay for it, right? Manufacturers knew people often buy washers and their dryers together, so they took advantage of that, and consumers lost twice. The tariff didn't make imports more expensive, it just made everything more expensive. And this is going to lead to another problem, which is input costs. Input costs, not import costs, right? The modern economy is a complex web of global supply chains. A product labeled made in America is often built with components from all over the world. So an American car might use Canadian steel, Taiwanese electrics, and Mexican wiring. A 10% tariff hits all of these parts, making it expensive to buy an American car. The car company is now in the bind. Their costs are up. They have their choices to either absorb the cost, which they never do, and become less competitive. That's the other choice, or pass it on to you. The result is that even domestically made cars get more expensive. This hurts sales, which can lead to factory slowdowns and, ironically, layoffs for the very American workers the tariffs were meant to protect. That's what we were talking about earlier. Then there's uh, retaliation. Trade is a two-way street. History shows us that when the United States imposes raw tariffs, other countries don't just take it, they hit it back with tariffs of their own. You've seen that back and forth between America and China, where China was getting hit with 200 and America had 175% tariff. It's crazy, right? and their tariffs is going to be aimed at America. This is exactly what happened in that past trade dispute, right? Because China retaliated with tariffs on America's soybean, devastating farmers. The European Union hit American motorcycles, whiskey, blue jeans. So while import tariffs are hurting American consumers, retaliatory tariffs also hurt American consumers and the producers as well. He's well, I divorced him after he said he would rather be on assistance because I earned too much money. Okay, well, fuck him then. After 13 and a half years, I said, you get what you want. It's a long time overdue. Well, shit, he don't got to claim you because if he got government assistance and he claimed that he stay alone, then at the end of the day, he can stay alone on paper and still live with you. He just don't claim you. But if he claimed that he got you and he's subsidizing his income with you, then at the end of the day, they might give you a little bit of a dependency subsidy, but it's not nearly as much as he would have gotten if he would have been on his own. But the fact is that if he's on his own, right, the issue is that he's stuck on a $24,000 a year income. And if they up that for inflation, it might be, $25,000 a year income. But he's still living in the bottom 25 percentile. But he's going to do it by choice. Now, the Iowa farmers finds his biggest market dry up when these tariffs hit like this. The Kentucky bourbon distilleries sees its European sales plummet. The Wisconsin motorcycle manufacturers is forced to shift products overseas to avoid the EU's tariffs, moving American jobs to other countries, the exact opposite of the policy's stated goal, right? So the net effect is a lose-lose. It's not even a net zero. It's just a double loss. American consumers pay more for what they buy. American businesses pay more for what they need. And American exporters get shut out of foreign markets. The economy becomes less efficient and less competitive. The only clear winner is the government and the ultra wealthy, which collects more tax revenue, but that money isn't free. It's been pulled directly from the pockets of its own citizens and the balance sheets of the businesses. Now, this stuff is going to be complex and it's easy to get lost in the jargon, but the core idea is going to be simple. These policies have real costs that are often hidden. So I want to ask you, what hidden costs have you noticed? Have you seen prices creeping up and wondered why they were? I want you to share your experiences in the comments, and we're going to talk about this in upcoming shows because these economic policies actually affect us on the ground, and your story might help someone else connect those dots. She says, I was making more money, so he didn't get free drugs. Oh, well, I don't fuck with people who do drugs anyway. I don't date people who do drugs anyway, so because that's a waste of money. Right now, Prospect Capital is around $2.40 a piece. That's like a pack of Optimos or some Swisher Sweets. Ellington Residential is like $3 or $4 a share right now, which is technically 3 shares for a pack of cigarettes. I'm not really trying to deal with people who have recreational self-medicating and anybody who needs uninsured medication. We ain't fucking with one another because I mean that's a waste of money for me. I don't need medication. Their life is not my financial responsibility. I'm screening folks, you know. I'm not going to voluntarily get into a relationship with a person who already has expenses that far exceeds my investment portfolio. Grapefruit juice went up a lot, $3.99 to $4.99 or $5.30 is more than $10. Jesus, damn. See, now if we have more Mexicans, grapefruit juice might be a little bit cheaper. Said my ex's drugs were needed. It doesn't matter if it was needed. I said it was either self-medicated or uninsured. If it's uninsured, it's needed, like the Ozepic for Sterling. It's needed, but his insurance won't pay for it. And because it's $1,200 that I don't have to pay for you, me and you can't come together because that's a $1,200 base cost for you to be in my life that ultimately I don't need to pay. That's what I was saying. Oh, a 10% increase, not a $10 increase. Oh, okay. So let's bring it all back real quick because we're about to wrap things up. There's a broad-based tariff like the one that we've been discussing so far that is often sold as a tool for national strength. That 12.5% increase that went up from the 10%. Oh, so it's a 2.5% increase that went up from 10%. But when you follow the money, very different stories emerge. You're going to find that the tax is not paid by the foreign countries. It is paid by American companies and passed on to the American consumers. And you're going to find that it hides in higher price tags, acting as a sales tax on almost everything that you buy. Just said no, it was needed, and I paid 3,600 per month. Exactly what I was trying to say. It is needed, and now you have voluntarily signed up for a $3,600 a month bill that I would not have signed up for. So if I was with this person before the bill came up, we would have had to really discuss your life versus my expense. Because take right now, I've got a family member right now that can get a in-home nurse paid for by the VA for an extra $5,000 a month. I'll do it because they're paying an extra $5,000 a month. If I had to pay an extra $300 a month for a housekeeper, I might not have done it because there's got to be another way. So you're saying you pay $3,600 a month for somebody that you cared about. I would not do that. That's what I'm telling you. I would not pay $3,600 a month for somebody else. I have learned from my financial expenses. I know you love giving away money. I love him. No, fuck that shit. He ain't that important to me. He was that important to you. He ain't that important to me. Soon as the doctor said $3,600 a month, I'd have said, "Well, he's yours now. You can just ship him straight to the nursing home from here because I am not doing it." I would have left him at the hospital. Would have never came and got him. He said the grapefruit juice made it to Florida where we are. Yeah, but and that's why I said if the grapefruit juice was made by the Mexicans instead of being made by the Americans, it would have been cheaper. There was no other way. I tried. No, there was another way. You left him. You said this is your ex. That's the other way. You left him. I'm not paying $3,600. That's the point. It is either stay with you and pay 3,600 extra dollars a month for your health care, or not stay with you and save $3,600 a month that I can now put into a brokerage account that can give me 15 to 18% return on investment. I choose the latter. Bye bye X. Let me invest. Bye bye X. Let me invest. That's how I did it. I'd have left him at the hospital. That would have been the last day. We'd have broke up as soon as I seen the bill. I'd have been like, nope. Now, most importantly, if you find hidden taxes, that is going to be brutally regressive taxes, right? It lands. I know you left. You just left long before you started paying that. You left long after you paid the bill. I would have left before the bill came in. I'd be like, no, no. This is going to land heaviest on households that are least able to take the hit. It's going to take longer, and it's going to take a lot larger of a bite out of the budgets of the single parents buying clothes for their kids, and then it does a lot less to CEOs buying luxury cars, and it's going to make basic necessities more expensive, stretching thin budgets to the breaking point, and according to economic models, even threatening to push hundreds of thousands of people into poverty. Uh, Not because of that alone. No, that would have been all I would have needed. He could have had a bad attitude. He could have cheated. He could have did all of this other stuff. Me, I would have left because of the price. I would have left because of the price. I wouldn't need nothing else. He could have been a saint. He could have been a saint. He could have been. He could have been like the best guy that anybody could have ever. And I would have left because of the price. I would have left because of the price. There ain't nobody staying with me with no $3,600 a month bill. Talking about something they got to pay for me. I don't cost people money. I have a zero net value, or I bring you a profit if we stay in the same place together. So at the end of the day, if I'm not saving you money, I'm making money for you if we stand in the same place together. So since that is how I hold my accountability to other people, I'm going to hold other people to the same accountability. When you cost me more than you make me, the return on my investment in you is not there. And at the end of the day, I'm walking out. That's it. That's it. Now, understanding how the hidden forces works isn't just an economic exercise. It's going to be a fundamental thing that you need to own with financial literacy. So when you guys hear politicians promising to make another country pay through tariffs, like he said he was going to make Mexico fix the wall, it's essential to know who will actually be fitting the bill, because while the tariffs is levied at the border, the cost ultimately lands in your hands at the cash register, and recognizing these hidden taxes is the first and most critical step towards protecting your own financial well-being. Um, last one. She says, doesn't the tariff push prices out of people's budgets? He never shops. If you give him $100, what do you buy? Well, that's the thing. Tariffs will push a lot of people's like, for example, like I told you guys a moment ago, Walmart, most stuff is going to be imported for Walmart to have such cheap prices, because American people cost too much money for hourly wages, and big business is going to offset wage costs onto consumer prices. So customers pay more money for American made products because the hourly wage for American made products is going to be more. That's one of the reasons why Walmart, that's paying really close to minimum wage, is cheaper than Publix, that pays their employees more than minimum wage. Right? To the magnitude where they will carry your groceries to the car from Publix as part of their job, right? So without tip, right? So think about this. As tariffs makes imported goods cost more money, the stuff that people could barely afford to pay for, where they might have only had $300 on their food stamp card, and if they were buying $2 TV dinners, they might be able to buy them like, I don't know, uh 60 TV dinners, right? Well, if the inflation is going to cost them to pay like $2.50 a TV dinner, they're ultimately getting one less TV dinner a day, which pushes them down. So instead of them eating like 3 or 4 TV dinners a day, they're now only eating 1 or 2 TV dinners a day. So they go from having like 60 TV dinners in a month to having less than 30 TV dinners in a month, because the cost is higher, but the income is not higher. And ultimately, they have to eat that cost. And there's not much else that anybody can do about that, because the situation is outside of our control. So one of the ways that we can mitigate it is we either cook for ourselves at the house, or we find cheaper ways to get food and get the nutrients that we need. But ultimately, we find ourselves in a position where we get less. Yeah, you get buy one get ones at Publix all the time to offset the cost of being at Publix. But Publix is more expensive than Walmart because Publix pay their employees more money. Walmart might not have as many buy one get ones as Publix does, but buy one get one at Publix is a ploy where they're going to sell you 2 items for $5, where they're $2.50 a piece, but they're going to market at $3.50 and then say buy one get one for $5, and you'll buy two, which is forcing you to pay $5 for what you would have paid $2.50 for. They're literally just forcing you to buy more stuff out of the store, but at the same time, they're paying their employees more money. Walmart, you'll get it for $1.75 for the same item that you would get it at Publix for buy one get one for $5. So now instead of buying two, you might be able to buy four from Walmart, but their employees are not making nearly as much money as Publix. So what does a Walmart employee do? Quit Walmart, go work in Publix. He says, no, but Walmart is more expensive. Walmart is more expensive for a lot of things. He said, if that doesn't sum Sterling, I'm not worried about it. Bro, I've been giving this guy like the last hour. I've been I've been waiting on him to dive bomb in here and just try to take up my time. But I only got 3 minutes or 2 minutes left because I got a contract I gotta fulfill right now. But I was waiting on him to dive in, man. I thought Sterling was gonna dive in and said, I hate Walmart. I was waiting on him to dive in, man. He says, I gave a very good memory and I shop. Oh, you have a good memory and you shop? Yeah, well, that's what a lot of men do when they go to the store. They buy what used to be in the house, it's no longer in the house, and just replace what's in the house. When women go to the store, they buy what they see. So, and that's the reason why the store is designed the way it's designed, because women will walk into a store with the intention to get one thing and come out of the store with 300 things that they saw while they were there. They can personally find value in what they're buying, even if it isn't valuable after they bring it home. But the fact is that if I went in there to get 3 cans of Progresso soup and 5 TV dinners, I'm coming out of the store with 3 cans of Progresso soup and 5 TV dinners. I'm not coming out with 3 cans of Progresso soup, 5 TV dinners, some makeup, some perfume, curling irons, a new crock pot. You know what I mean? These new sheets that look good, they might fit on the bed, and I'm not doing all that stuff. I went in there for some shit. I'm coming out for whatever I went in there for. If I'm in there for 30 minutes, that's because it took me 30 minutes to fill the cart, get to the register, and get back to the thing. But I filled the cart with exactly what I was in there for. And with Walmart, while they might be more expensive for some folks, $50 a year for me, $100 for most people, I get them to ship most of the shit to the house. So everything heavy is like, let me just order it from Walmart.com, have them drop it off. That way I don't have to carry it to the door. I just got to bring it from the door to the kitchen and just put it up. You know what I mean? I just saved myself on a lot of things. But unfortunately, I'm at the end. I have to wrap things up. She said my husband's hoarding for WW3. I never let him in alone. I would hoard for WW3 too. You need to buy 2,000 canned goods, 4,000 packs of ramen noodles, and 500 cases of water, and Michael said toilet paper, and some Depends diapers, and hand sanitizer. Let me stop. Look, all right, I got to wrap things up. Unfortunately, I got something that started right now, so I'm going to have to let you guys go. I'm going to thank you guys. First of all, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. Ladies, please make it make sense. Special shout out to Catherine, Stephen, Michael, Aztecs, Unc, Andy, FX Trader, OG Kicks. I really appreciate you guys for passing through the show. Thank you for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground.